GoForThe2.com in with the Week 10 predictions. Only going to be one video tonight. It's a rapid-fire selection with 5 picks on it. If you want all my picks that are on this video, go to the website, GoForThe2.com, the number 2. You'll see the spreads that are incorporated with this video starting at around 11 o'clock Tuesday night. So check it out at GoForThe2.com. If you want all the top 25 battles, all the selections, tune in this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern, November 7th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern, sportsgrid.com, or MSG Plus, MSG Networks, Tri-State Area, Dish, or DirecTV. So check it out, MSG Plus. College football today. We'll go through all the top 25 selections. I'll give you all my picks for those games. I'll give you my best bets that are on this video, along with some under-the-radar picks as the week progresses. They're called Gridiron Gems. I also give you my best bets on top of these 5 selections as the week progresses. Last week, we were 3-2 in terms of first half picks. Had Michigan State plus 13.5 against Michigan. They won the game outright, leading at half as well. Had under 29.5 Georgia Tech and Notre Dame. That game had 24 points at the half. Also had over Boise State and Air Force 30.5. So 3-2 on the Gridiron Gems. Also give you some fantasy plays, overs and unders. It's jam-packed with information, so check it out. This coming Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern, college football today. Then in-game live as the games kick off, 12, 1 o'clock, 3:30. I take you straight through for 7 straight hours, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. with college football today, and 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern in-game live, sportsgrid.com, so check it out. Let's get right into the rapid-fire selections. It starts on Friday night in the ACC. Classic battle between the Hurricanes and NC State Wolfpack. Both teams coming off a bye. Both teams looking to pick up this victory. You look at the series overall, Miami's won 6 of the last 8 matchups. They've won the last 2 by 10.5 points per game. Picked up this victory back in 2016 was the last time they played, 27-13. This matchup comes down to 2 factors for me. It comes down to the quarterback position, De'Ara King versus Bailey Hockman, and the front 7 of Miami going up against the front 7 of NC State. I think the significant advantage of both sides of the ball is the Hurricanes, along with their speed. When you look at Miami, they're still averaging 169 rushing yards per game. Heading into this matchup on the ground, De'Ara King played very well a couple of weeks ago, threw for 322 yards through the air, completed 71% of his passes, 1 touchdown, no interceptions against a solid defense in the Virginia Cavaliers. Miami is a very opportunistic defense. They have 15 total sacks on the year, forced turnovers as well, and that's going to be the matchup going up against a lack of rushing game for NC State and a one-dimensional offense at this point in the season. When you look at NC State right now, even though they're coming off a bye, they're only averaging 131 rushing yards per game in 3 straight games against Pitt, Virginia, and Duke. 2.4 yards per carry, 2.8 yards per carry, 3.1 yards per carry. They finally got it going against North Carolina, but that's not the same type of physical, athletic defensive front that Miami possesses, and I think that's the matchup to watch Friday night in Raleigh. I think Miami forces Bailey Hockman into long third down situations. He's an inconsistent quarterback, only completing 58% of his passes, has a tendency to force throws into coverage. When you look at the flip side as well, the NC State defense allowing 182 rushing yards per game heading into this matchup. I think Miami is focused. They can be the second best team in the ACC. Clemson and Notre Dame square off Saturday night. One of those teams will have a loss. If Miami can somehow run the table the rest of the way and one of those teams slip up, like Notre Dame, if they lose this matchup to Clemson and then later in the year in another game, Miami will be the second best team and face either Clemson or another team. Clemson still has to play Pitt. They still have to play Virginia Tech, so it's no gimme heading out the rest of November into December. So I think Miami will be focused. They're into this ball game. Speed kills. The Hurricanes do pick up a double-digit win on the road in Raleigh, 14 points or more against the Wolfpack Friday night. Big battle takes place in the Big Ten between Nebraska and Northwestern. Last 3 games have been decided by a total of 13 points. When you look at this matchup last year, Nebraska won 13-10. But what can you say about Northwestern? Playing lights out. They knocked off Maryland. And think about that. Maryland knocked off Minnesota week 2. They dominated Maryland in the week 1 matchup. Only allowed 3 points in that ballgame. Peyton Ramsey, the former Indiana quarterback, playing very well, completing 71% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, 342 passing yards. He's more of a game manager, makes solid decisions, but it really comes down to the front 7 of Northwestern, only allowing 70 rushing yards per game, 3.1 yards per carry. They're going to try and put the pressure on Nebraska to challenge that defense over the top. Make no mistake about it, this is a must-win game for Scott Frost. He must find a way, coming out of the bye week after they didn't play Wisconsin, to get this victory over Northwestern. This is a team they can beat. They're going on the road. Not many people are expecting them to win. They need to step up. Now, there were some positive signs in the blowout loss to Ohio State. Nebraska rushed for over 200 yards. They need to get that type of effort against the front 7 of Northwestern. I expect Scott Frost to utilize mismatches in terms of his skill players and personnel, utilize motion. That's the difference somehow, some way on the road. Nebraska's speed is the difference, and they win this ball game by 7 points or more over the Wildcats. Another big battle takes place in the AAC between Houston and Cincinnati. When you look at the matchup overall, Houston all-time leads the series 15-11 straight up, but Cincinnati's won 6 of the last 8 meetings, and from the spread perspective, they are 4-1-1 over the last 6 games. Now, last year, Cincinnati won 38-23, dominated this ballgame by 15 points. Cincinnati dominated Brady White and Memphis. I was dead wrong about that matchup. They stepped up. Desmond Ridder with a solid day. They rushed for over 200 yards. Desmond Ridder, 271 through the air, forced turnovers against Brady White, and to me that was the difference. They jumped up early. Memphis couldn't match them, couldn't match the physicality on the road, and Cincinnati did blow out the Tigers in that ballgame. Houston with a disappointing home loss to UCF. They allowed over 300 rushing yards, 6.1 yards per carry in that matchup to UCF. Now they go on the road to face number 6 Cincinnati. I think they match up very well against the Bearcats in this ballgame. I think the speed of Corbin and Stevenson on the outside, those receivers have combined for 32 receptions, 4 receiving touchdowns. They have the speed to take the top off of Cincinnati's defense. Memphis could not do it. They threw a lot of underneath to dig routes, didn't challenge that secondary over the top, and that was a main reason why Memphis couldn't convert on third down situations. Clayton Tune is a good quarterback. He's completing 61% of his passes. I think they can run the football. This is still an offense in Houston, averaging 134 rushing yards per game, 308 passing yards per game. They have the type of scheme like Memphis to execute it and score points on Cincinnati. They might not win, but this line opened up at 10.5. It's up to 13.5. Give me Houston with the points. I think they're in this ball game from start to finish on the road against Cincinnati. Not sold on Cincinnati being an elite team. They're a good team, not an elite team, and I think Houston does cover this 13.5 point number Saturday afternoon in Ohio. Another big battle takes place in the SEC. It's between Tennessee and Arkansas. What can you say? Arkansas came back, backdoor covered Texas A&M, lost that matchup 42-31. Felipe Franks playing very well. But when you look at this team overall, Arkansas played 3 really tough games. Auburn, Ole Miss, and A&M. Are they gassed at this point in the season? On the flip side, you have a Tennessee team coming off a bye, played terribly a couple of weeks ago against Alabama, but they also had a tough span before the bye week. They played Georgia, they played Auburn, Kentucky, and Alabama in 3 straight games. They got worn down at the point of attack, couldn't run the football consistently. This offense is only converting 26% on third downs. Offense only averaging 134 rushing yards per game, 3.5 yards per carry. They're going to need a better effort on the road, but I still like the secondary of Tennessee. I think this is one of the best secondaries that Arkansas and Felipe Franks have faced up until this point. I don't call Texas A&M an elite secondary. If you really want to know, entering that matchup last week against the Razorbacks, Texas A&M was allowing every quarterback to complete 71% of their passes, over 277 passing yards per game, and that's why Franks had success. This is a different animal in the Volunteers, even though they give up a lot of yards to Alabama. Arkansas is not Alabama. They don't have the speed to challenge the Volunteers over the top. I think Tennessee runs the football at will on the front seven. Look at the last three meetings for the Arkansas front seven. They are being gashed. They're allowing 4.8 yards per carry. Eric Gray, Ty Chandler, I think, break out that offensive line with a week of rest. I think dominate the front seven of Arkansas. Tennessee with a double-digit win. It'll probably be 3 or 7 points much of the way, but in the end, they get a late score to win this ball game against the Razorbacks in a must-win situation by 10 points. Another big battle takes place in the Big 12. It's West Virginia on the road against Texas. Texas with an upset win over Oak State in overtime. They got it done. Shut down Spencer Sanders and the crew. They now come back home. Line opened up at 11. It's down to 6.5. Flip side, I was all over West Virginia last week, laying 3.5 against K-State. They stepped up. They dominated, ran the football with Letty Brown. Jared Dagey made plays. That defense is playing lights out for West Virginia right now. And I'm going to ride the hot defense, even though it's on the road. This is a game that nobody expects West Virginia to win. They've won 3 of the last 5 in the series. Lost this matchup 42-31 in Morgantown last year. I think they can strike the upset on the road against Sam Ehlinger and the crew. I know Texas coming off an emotional top 10 victory, but this is a different team when they're favorite as are opposed to when they're underdogs like they were last week. This team never lives up to expectations. Neil Brown, to me, is a better head coach at this point in his career than Tom Herman. I'm going to take the better quarterback, in my opinion, Jared Dagey. I'm going to take the better defense in West Virginia, giving up 97 rushing yards per game. They have recorded 20 total sacks on the year. They're only giving up 33% on third down conversions, forced turnovers, and I'm not sold on the offensive line for Texas. 6 games, 15 total sacks allowed, and more importantly, not sold on the secondary. The secondary for Texas allowing over 260 passing yards per game. I'm going to go with the younger team that thinks they can win on the road, playing with house money. West Virginia outright over the Longhorns in this battle. If you want all the top 25 games and the rest of the picks for these matchups as the week progresses, hit me up at GoForThe2, the number2.com, or tune in to College Football Today, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern on the 7th, MSG Plus, or in-game live from 12 to 5. See you next week, this weekend, everyone. Have a great week. Enjoy the games.